Hello friends, welcome to Byju's classes. In last few sessions, we understood sociology as an optional. We understood what are the different components that we are going to study. What is the syllabus as per UPSC. In today's session, what we will do is we will see the resources, the readings that are required for completing the optional. So what we will do is, chapter-wise, we will see what are the readings required. One thing you have to keep in mind is, the most fundamental resource that you will be referring is the class slides. Whatever we will be discussing in the class, I'll be using some slides. So those slides will be provided to you. So these are the fundamental resource that you are going to use. And again, when I'm trying to create the slides, I've referred to multiple sources. So all these things will be packed together in the slide. But apart from the slides, you also have to go through some readings. So chapter-wise, we will see what are these readings. And apart from these readings, I'll also be sharing with you some other resources from time to time. So again, that thing will also be part of your readings. Again, these are the supplementary readings. They are not the mandatory readings, additional readings. You can read if you have time at your disposal. So we'll see the readings one by one. The first chapter, paper one, first chapter, sociology as a discipline. Now, in this chapter, we have again three subtopics. First is about the emergence of sociology as a discipline. So this topic, you have to refer to the class notes. That's the most fundamental thing. Apart from that, ignore resources. Now, whenever I am mentioning ignore resources, those PDFs which are specific to the topic will be provided to you. So don't worry about it. The PDF concern that is available online, you can also download it, but we will also provide it. So you don't need to worry about it. So these resources will be there. The second topic, scope of the subject sociology and comparison of sociology with other social sciences. Now for this, one is the first source, apart from the class notes, will be an article written by Maurice Ginsburg. I'll share it with you. Apart from that, there is also one reading from NCRT. So that PDF will also be shared with you. The third subtopic, sociology and common sense. Now for understanding this topic, first thing, yes, the class slides. Apart from that, there are two papers, one written by Andre Bete, another by Carl C. Taylor. So both these articles will be shared with you. So this is about the first chapter. Primarily, it is some important research papers and ignore and also the class notes. Now coming to the next chapter, sociology as science. So for this chapter, you will refer to Harlombos and Holborn. Now from now onwards, you will observe that this particular textbook will be coming again and again. Harlombos, Holborn, this textbook you purchase it. It's that voluminous thick textbook, blue in color. If you search Harlombos in Amazon Flipkart, you might get another textbook as well, the smaller one. We are not going to refer to that. Rather, we'll be referring to the thicker one. By looking at the size of the book, don't get intimidated. The book might be huge, but we are not going to read each and every chapter. Only some specific chapters we have to refer to. And there also you'll find one thing. In this textbook, you'll find multiple case studies. Now you don't need to remember all the case studies. You just need to understand why this particular experiment was carried out, why this research was carried out, and what was the outcome. So all the things you don't need to refer to. Always be clear with this thing. But first resource is your class notes. Your class notes will incorporate some of the important findings from these books. So first refer to class notes and then go for the textbooks. Try to solve questions. We're giving you questions from each and every part of the syllabus. So when you are trying to answer the questions, in most of the cases, you'll be able to answer the questions from the learning from the class notes itself. Sometimes it might be difficult. Sometimes you might have to explore some new terrains. In that case, textbooks will be helpful. But for most of the cases, class notes will be good enough. So Harlombos and Holborn, you have to start referring specifically for paper one. So for this particular subject, for this particular topic, sociology as science, you have to refer to the chapter on methodology. There is one chapter. The title of the chapter is methodology. This particular chapter talks about sociology as science. Apart from Harlombos, I will also be providing you some PDFs from IGNU. So they also talk about this part of our syllabus. See, whenever there is a mention of IGNU anywhere in today's session, don't worry about it. IGNU resources we will be providing you. All the PDFs, they are all available online. They are all free of cost available. But again, there are a lot of things available online. So we will be providing you the selected PDF. You don't have to spend a lot of time on finding out which is the relevant resource. We will be providing you the appropriate resource. Next topic, research methods and analysis. Now it also has three subtopics, and all these three subtopics are again there in Harlombos and Holborn. And again, this is part of the chapter methodology. So methodology chapter covers both these dimensions: research methods analysis as well as sociology as science. The next chapter is sociological thinkers, one of the most predominant part of our syllabus. For sociological thinkers, we'll be referring to another book, the book by George Ritzer. So this is going to be our fundamental resource. But one thing here, Harlombos and Holborn, it also covers this. So there is a chapter, sociological theory, in Harlombos Holborn. It also talks about thinkers. So first refer to Ritzer, then you can refer to Harlombos Holborn. I will also be providing you different PDFs from IGNU. One thing here, you don't need to go through all the resources. You are trying to understand one part, one thinker. If you're not able to understand the thinker, then you can refer to other sources. You don't need to read all the resources. Just keep this in mind that your fundamental aim is answering questions, and we will be providing you questions. So if able to answer a particular question, then you go for multiple resources till the point you're able to answer it. So this is about the fourth chapter. Primary focus is primary resources Ritzer. Then you can go for Harlombos Holborn. Then you can go for IGNU resources. Fifth chapter. This chapter deals with stratification and mobility. How our society is divided into different layers. How these layers are arranged. How our society is stratified. This chapter also deals with mobility. That means whether there is mobility along these hierarchy. Whether people who are born in the lower strata can they move to the higher strata. Someone might be born poor, but over a period of time, that person might move up the hierarchy. So for understanding this part of the syllabus, again, the fundamental resource will be Harlombos Holborn. Now Harlombos Holborn has a chapter dedicated to social stratification. Stratification and mobility. This chapter again has multiple subtopics. One of the subtopic is dimension of social stratification. And here they will talk about sex, gender, they will talk about ethnicity, they will talk about race. So different dimensions they have mentioned. And all these things are present in different chapters of the book. So that is the reason we have to refer to individual chapters here, multiple chapters here. One chapter is social stratification, another chapter is sex and gender, another chapter is race, ethnicity and nationality, and finally poverty and social exclusion. So all these four chapters have to be studied for this part. Now the next topic, work and economic life. Now for this chapter, primary resources class notes, and I will be providing you some PDFs from IGNU. So both these things are sufficient for this. Next topic is politics and society. Again, the fundamental resources Harlombos Holborn apart from the class notes. So there is a chapter, power, politics and state. It will cover different dimensions of politics and society. Next chapter, religion and society. Harlombos and Holborn has a specific chapter on religion. So that is going to be our resource apart from the class notes. Systems of kinship. So there is a specific chapter in Harlombos Holborn. The name of the chapter is family and household. So it is going to be our fundamental resource apart from the class notes. The last topic in paper one, social change in modern society. Here the fundamental resource will be the class notes. Apart from that, IGNU readings will be provided. Some PDFs from IGNU. So this is about paper one. So mostly what we saw was Harlombos and Holborn and George Ritzer. These two are the major books that we require for this part. And the remaining things, the IGNU PDFs, the NCRT PDFs, the different papers, research papers, all these things will be provided to you. So this is about paper one. Now what has to be done about paper two? Now one thing here, when it comes to paper two, it is difficult to find one particular book. You will have all the topics together. In paper one, we saw that in Harlombos Holborn, most of the topics are already there. In fact, sociological thinkers, I'm saying go for George Ritzer, but those thinkers are also covered to some extent in Harlombos. But when it comes to paper two, you will not find one resource where all the things are together. And again, the type of the nature of the subject is such that it might require you to explore new territories. It might require you to understand recent things as well. Contemporary issues might be asked. Sometimes your readings from newspaper might help you improve your answers. So what we have to do is we have to be prepared for all these things. So we will be referring to some traditional resources, but apart from that, we will refer to some contemporary trends as well. We will refer to different magazine articles apart from the basic readings. We will be referring to IGNOU sources. In most of the chapters that you will see, most of the topics we will be referring to IGNOU. And whenever I am saying IGNOU, don't worry, we will be providing you the exact resource from IGNOU, whatever is required. Sometimes we might have to refer to some articles published in magazines like EPW. EPW will be one of the most fundamental resources, and apart from that, Yojana Kurukshetra might also be relevant. So for preparation of paper 2, our strategy will be very different. So what all needs to be covered for paper 2? Now, first chapter in paper 2, perspectives on the study of Indian society. Now, this particular topic is nothing but Indian thinkers. Different thinkers have studied Indian society from different perspectives. So all these perspectives we will see. All the methods they have employed, they are different. Ideology, structural functionalism, Marxist sociology. 3 different strands of thoughts. How we are going to cover? First resource is your class notes. These 3 subtopics have been dealt separately. You will be referring to the class notes. Apart from that, there is one book by B.K. Nagla, Indian Sociological Thought. Now, this book has different Indian thinkers, but you don't need to read the entire book. Only those thinkers who are specifically mentioned here. Gue, Srinivas Desai. And to some extent, you can also study Yogendra Singh, who is again mentioned later on. So this book you can take, but don't go through the entire book. Only few chapters here. The next topic, impact of colonial rule on Indian society. Now, this particular chapter has 4 subtopics. First is social background of Indian nationalism. Now, coincidentally, the name of the topic also happens to be the name of the book written by A.R. Desai. So, for this topic, you can purchase this book, Social Background of Indian Nationalism. But again, when you're purchasing this book, you just need to read it, but it should not be a very detailed reading, easy reading. Go through the entire book, but don't spend too much time on the book. You just need to have an idea what it tells you about, what A.R. Desai is talking about. And in this chapter, we will actually be referring to some of the findings of the book, how social background of Indian nationalism, how Indian nationalism is emerging over a period of time, how it is divided into multiple phases. All these phases we will cover briefly. The next subtopic under this larger topic is modernization of Indian tradition. And again, this also happens to be the title of the book written by Professor Yogendra Singh. So again, you can refer to this book, Modernization of Indian Tradition by Yogendra Singh. The remaining 2 topics, protest and movements during colonial period, social reforms. Now, these are the things you might also be covering in history. Modern history talks about both these things, protest and movements, social reforms. So for this, again, your history textbook will be sufficient. For example, you might be referring to Bipin Chandra, or you might be referring to Spectrum. Both Bipin Chandra as well as Spectrum refer to these things. They will have specific chapters which talk about social reforms and protest and movements. So you can club your history learning, modern history part, and sociology together. So class notes, fundamental resource. Apart from that, books by A.R. Desai, books by Yogendra Singh, and Bipin Chandra or Spectrum, whatever you are referring to. So these are about the first 2 chapters, and this is also about the section A of paper 2. Now the next section of paper 2, section B. First topic here is rural and agrarian social structure. It has 2 subtopics, idea of Indian village studies, and the second subtopic is agrarian social structure, which has 2 parts, land tenure system and land reforms. Now, for this part of the syllabus, again, the primary resource is class notes. IGNOU material will be providing you. From now onwards, you will observe that we will be focusing a lot on new resources apart from the class notes. Caste system. Here also, class notes are important, IGNOU is important. Apart from that, I'll also be sharing with you some recent articles, some important research papers. So that will also be shared along with you, some of the important papers which have been published in Economic and Political Weekly. The next topic, tribal communities in India. For this, again, class notes, IGNOU is important. Apart from this, one book, Tribal India by Nadine Hassan. But one thing you should keep in mind, the entire book might not be relevant, only some selected readings, some particular chapters. See, tribal communities in India, again, it talks about 4 subtopics. So those subtopics and the chapters in this particular book, try to map that and read that. So only those chapters which are relevant for the syllabus, go for it. And this particular part of the syllabus, this is also relevant in the sense that from time to time you will come across different issues. In recent times also, different issues will be coming up related to tribes. So there's a lot of coverage in newspapers, magazines related to this particular chapter. So I'll also be providing you different resources from time to time. For example, in case there is some important news report or any magazine article, those things will also be part of your readings. And in case you yourself come across these things, try to add it. The next topic, social classes in India. Now, this chapter talks about the different classes that exist in Indian society. What is the agrarian class structure? What are the middle classes? What is the industrial class structure? So we will be understanding these classes. And the most important resource, again, is IGNOU here, apart from the class notes. So I'll be providing you IGNOU resources for this. The next chapter, system of kinship in India. Again, the same resources hold true. Class notes and IGNOU. Religion and society. Class notes and IGNOU. Now, when it comes to religion and society, current events, contemporary issues also become very significant. So again, some newspaper readings, some magazine articles will also be provided. So till this point, it was about the section B of the syllabus. From now onwards, it is section C. Section C basically talks about the changes that is taking place in Indian society. Topics related to social change. So the first topic, vision of social change in India. For this also, class notes and IGNOU. This particular chapter talks about the idea of planned change, idea of mixed economy. It talks about the relationship between education and social change. So all these things we will be covering. IGNOU is a very good resource for this. Rural and agrarian transformation in India. Now, this particular chapter talks about different kind of schemes that we have initiated from at different points of time, different kind of policy interventions from the side of the state to bring about these kind of transformation. For example, it talks about green revolution, it talks about community development programs. So all these things are part of it. So here also, class notes and IGNOU will help us. And also, since it deals with a lot of schemes, policies, selective reading of India Yearbook might also be helpful. At least those chapters which refer to rural and agrarian transformation. So there will be one chapter in India Yearbook which talks about agriculture. There will be a chapter about rural development. So try to go through these chapters. You will come across the recent schemes, and you'll also understand how we have arrived at these schemes. At some point of time, rural development would have involved these schemes, some particular schemes, but how things have changed over time. So selective reading of India Yearbook, only the chapters on rural development and agriculture, and also poverty elevation, because poverty elevation is also part of it. Next chapter, industrialization and urbanization in India. Here also, class notes and IGNOU, fundamental resource. Here also, you can refer to some part of India Yearbook, specifically which deals with these topics. For example, for urban development, there are chapters in India. So try to refer to that. So this is about the initial part of section C. The next topic, politics and society. Here also, class notes and fundamental resource. Now, this particular chapter, politics and society, refers to different dimensions that we have already talked about in paper 1. For example, democracy, pressure groups, political parties, bureaucracy. So many of these things we will be again seeing, but we will be looking at it from Indian perspective. So sometimes, apart from class notes and IGNOU, some of the resources, some of the magazine articles can be relevant. And again, these magazine articles will be provided to you. Don't worry about it. Next chapter, social movements in modern India. Here, class notes, we have dealt with different social movements separately. Peasant and farmer movement, women movement, backward classes movement, Dalit movement, ethnicity identity movements, all these movements will be there. One book you can refer to, Social Movements by Ghanshyam Saab. this thing is available online. The PDF is there online. So if you just search social movements, Ghanshyam Saha, you will get hold of it. Apart from Ghanshyam Saha, you can also refer to the book by Bipin Chandra, the book that you refer for your history, the modern India part, Indian struggle for independence. So that also deals with different kind of social movements. You can also refer to Spectrum. Spectrum also has a section which deals with all these kind of movements, worker movements, peasant movements, different kind of movements are mentioned there as well. So either Spectrum or Bipin Chandra can be referred to. The next topic, population dynamics. So for this, there is one book, Principles of Population Studies by Bhende and Kanithkar. Again, selective reading of this book is important. Class notes, most fundamental resource. And again, some magazine articles can be important here. Last topic, challenges of social transformation. Class notes and will be the fundamental resource. So this is about paper 2. And as you can see in paper 2, for different topics, we are referring to IGNOU resource. So keep this in mind. First, go through the class notes. Then go for these IGNOU resources, and in some cases, some books. But again, always keep in mind that whenever you are going for reading these textbooks, always have an objective in mind. Look at the syllabus. Look at the subtopic in the syllabus. And when you are referring to that textbook, try to map the parts of the textbook that are relevant with the subtopics of the syllabus. That mapping should be there. With that objective, you should read it. So selective reading of these textbooks is what is relevant. So this is about paper 2. And as I had told you, EPW articles are important. They talk about many of the contemporary trends. That is the reason EPW resources are relevant from time to time. We will be informing you about these resources that you need to get hold of. In case some interesting article is there, we'll be informing you. Apart from this, selective reading of Yojana and Kurukshetra is also relevant. Yojana and Kurukshetra, every week you will find them, and there are so many articles. In each of their edition, you will find many articles related to the same topic. So it does not make sense to go through the entire magazine for a particular topic. Maybe 1 or 2 articles you can choose and go through them. So selective reading again of EPW, Yojana and Kurukshetra is important. So these are the relevant readings for paper 2 and paper 1. Again, I am telling you this thing. First resource should be your class notes. All the things that we are covering in the class, the slides will be provided to you. So first refer to those things, then refer to the different kind of textbooks which have been mentioned or different kind of other PDFs that will be provided. Always keep in mind that your whatever efforts you are putting, they're all aimed towards answering questions, understanding the concepts and answering questions. So if you are able to answer questions with whatever readings you have done, you are in the right direction. If you are not able to answer the questions, then go for other resources, supplementary resources that we are providing. So answering questions should be your fundamental aim, and for answering questions, your concept should be clear. So concepts should be clear and going for the answers. One thing here, we will be providing you questions for each and every part of the syllabus. Each and every subtopic that you see, you will have questions. Some questions will be straightforward. Some questions can be a little twisted, which might require you to explore things. If your concepts are clear, then also you'll be able to answer it, or some slight exploration is required. So this is about the readings that are required for you. And one more thing here, I provided you all the traditional readings, and these are the best readings for tracking the optional. But one thing here, always keep your mind open. In case you're not able to understand things even after going through all these resources, there's nothing stopping you from going to the internet. Sometimes some concepts might be there, might be available online, and they might be available in a very simple usage manner. Sometimes you can understand it there as itself. So try to use all these online forums, online medium as well. So keep your mind open, keep all the options open. So this is about the resources that are required to crack sociology. Thank you.